Good morning, good afternoon, good night, Manaloy, broadcasting out of the east of England to you around the world. And I have to say good morning, good afternoon, and good night because I don't know what time it is where you're watching it from. Anyway, I run a magazine called Blackbright News, which comes out periodically, maybe every 3 months, every 6 months, depending on the mood. And sometimes I do videos like this, which are meant to inform black people and the wider parts of the world. Today's video, I'm a bit disconcerting because it's very, very inflammatory and misleading. And I felt I needed to talk about it because it's an American network that's broadcasting about England. Now, if that goes out, which it probably has done around the world, I don't know what people are going to think. Anyway, I'm going to show it to you and then I'm going to say a little bit about it afterwards. But yeah, first impressions, and then I can imagine what kind of thoughts it's going to evoke.
British people will soon be outnumbered by Muslim migrants in the city of Birmingham. One America's Kristen Sharp explains how the reversal of population has also brought with it a wave of violent crime.
This is Birmingham in the 1960s, a quaint little city in central England full of farmland, churches, and a bustling city center that enjoyed a very low crime rate and picturesque historic streets. Flash forward a few decades. These images aren't from Iran, Iraq, or Afghanistan. No, this is modern-day Birmingham. A new report shows native Britons are on their way to becoming a minority in their own homeland. The latest demographics from Birmingham reveals that nearly half of those in the UK's most multicultural city are migrants or foreign-born. Experts say that white Brits will soon be outnumbered as the city continues to swell with residents from Africa and the Middle East. There are people from roughly 200 countries living in Birmingham, and some 50,000 of them don't speak any English at all. Immigrants make up 60% of Birmingham's growth over the last decade, but have also brought with them a massive spike in crime. Over the last few years, Muslim migrants have created areas of Birmingham known as no-go zones, places where non-Muslims are not welcome. This racist message was spray-painted on a wall in an inner-city ghetto of Birmingham in August of 2017. Native Brits say that it's a sad truth these areas are here to stay, and claim that many migrants have no intention of integrating or becoming British. Government officials say that similar graffiti has appeared in other areas in recent years, condemning the hateful vandalism, but taking no action against it. A recent government survey found that white residents in Birmingham feared for their safety and said parts of the city were now off limits. In fact, the city has become the so-called capital of jihadism in England. 1 in 10 of the UK's convicted Islamic terrorists comes from Birmingham. The neighborhood of Sparkbrook is more than 70% Muslim and has become a byword for radical Islamism in England. Houses there have been turned into bomb-making factories and were used in the deadly attacks on London's subway system in 2005 that killed 52 people. Muslim extremists have concentrated into several enclaves throughout the city, producing 26 of England's 269 convicted terrorists. One journalist who visited the city, Ross Kim, said Birmingham is so violent he has to wear the same body armor he wore in Syria for protection.
We want to end Islamic immigration, stop building Muslim madrasas, stop the funding coming in from Saudi Arabia, only for a limited time. When Islam has sorted itself out in this country and across Europe, when it's reformed to fit in Western democracy and freedom, when that's happened, then start building mosques again, but you're just adding to a problem.
Yet despite extensive evidence, Birmingham's government is turning a blind eye to the problem, instead calling the city a symbol of multiculturalism. Local leaders admit they're afraid of being called racist, and so they actively avoid getting involved in the city's growing jihadist. However,
what a load of bullshit. Honestly, I get so furious when I see things like that. Number one, you know when, well, you don't know, I'm going to tell you. When they were campaigning for Brexit, they actually got streams of video footage of Syrians fleeing from their country, from a war-torn zone, and they plastered it all over the UK to make it look as though those were immigrants in the UK. I believe they've done the same with this picture, because there is no way all of those people can be in a place called Birmingham. Birmingham is a small town in the UK. It is predominantly Asian, but not to that extent. On top of that, they must have been having some kind of conference. They must have come from all different parts of the world, if that is true footage. I don't believe it is. But when you're looking at, I mean, they're talking about 60% and 70% in Birmingham. Maybe, I mean, there is a possibility, because it's highly condensed in Birmingham, that it might be overpopulated with Asians or whatever. But we have to look, they're taking it out of context. Okay, the statistics for the UK, 81% white, where it varies between 81% and 87% white. Okay, there is 2% blacks. Where did I put this? Oh yeah, 2.5% black, 5.6% Asian, and 10.9% others. That could be mixed race or whatever. I'm not quite sure what they are. But Asian are 5.6% in the whole of the UK. Whites are between 81 and 87%. It doesn't add up when they're showing videos like that to make it look like whites are minority. They're fearing for their lives, blah, blah. There's terrorism and jihadism. I tell you something, England will not tolerate anything like that. If that exists in England, it's not happening. The English police are not afraid of anyone. They're not going to be afraid of being called racists. They don't work like that. They're very strategic. They take their time. They do what they need to do, and they go in there full steam ahead and do what they need to do. It's a load of BS in that video, and it's frustrating. And I was checking out the American statistics. American whites are 77%. Asians are the same as here, 5.6%. Now they're saying that blacks are 12% and they're saying Hispanics are 17%. Do those figures add up? They don't. So someone's inflating numbers somewhere for their own convenience. I don't believe for 1 minute that blacks are 12%. I think what they've done is they've done like what they did here, what that American company has come over here to do, gone to some event or whatever, made it look like, you know, everywhere you look is bloody Asian. And similarly with America, they make it look like everywhere you look is bloody black. And they've inflated these figures to make it look like, oh, we've got an immigration problem. How can you have an immigration problem when we're a minority? Blacks are 2.5% in England. And I don't believe that they're 12%. I bet you they're about 5%. But who's going to know? They'll talk about, oh, we can't account for illegal immigrants. We can't account for this. We can't account for that. All they're doing is inflating information to cause animosity and to cause divide and to cause problems. And it's not right. It shouldn't be allowed. So the reason why I had to talk on that is because that is misrepresentation. I don't believe it was that in Birmingham, because Birmingham's too small, actually. I wonder how many people live in Birmingham. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. The fact of the matter is, looking at the statistics, it's not fair to say, oh, Britain is becoming a minority in the UK whites are becoming a minority, whites are being taken over and all that kind of stuff. They're not being taken over. You've got nothing to fear at all. We are a minority in the UK, and I'm sure probably a minority, well, definitely a minority in the United States. So that's what I wanted to say, peeps. Have a good day.